morning students. So we will continue with the performance appraisal and the last method, that is the modern method. So last class we have seen the traditional methods, and because it was not that popular, that gave birth to the modern method. So under that we will see first one is assessment center method. So here assessment center is a group of employees drawn from different work units. So from different work units, they will take group of people collectively. These employees work together on an assignment. So all these employees will be given an assignment. Okay, and based on that, they will be assessing their performance, their skills, their technical skills, their competency. So this skill which is used to assess, okay, so the test which is given to assess the skill is actually the assignment which they have to carry out after their promotion. Okay, so priorly itself they will give and they will assess how well they are able to do it. So these employees work together on an assignment similar to on they would be handling when promoted. So they evaluate, observe and rank the performance of all the participants. So who will be the evaluator? The experienced managers will be as evaluators. This group evaluates all employees both individually and collectively by using, okay, so individually they will see how they are performing, in a group they will see how they are performing. So they will be using various techniques, okay, in order to assess, like simulation technique, like role playing, business games and basket exercises. When we say basket exercises, nothing but these are plethora of tests that is given to assess the skill, okay, of the individual. So based on the assessment, they will see if the person has to be promoted or not. So employees are evaluated on job related characteristics considered important for job success. So much if you write, that's more than enough. Okay, so are done generally by determining employee potential for promotion. So much if you write, that's more than enough. So we will see what are the drawbacks. So here we also see that it is a time consuming and it is an expensive method. Okay, so to assess everyone, it is time consuming and expensive method. Because expensive, again they'll be using different kinds of tests. So in that again they'll have to spend. Then secondly, we see that the candidates who receive a negative report from the assessment center may feel demoralized. What happens if a person is not selected? Automatically he will feel inferior, okay, and he will think that the way he is working is not good, it is not efficient. So he will tend to lose confidence. So that can happen. And in order to make this method effective, it is necessary to state the goals clearly, to obtain top management support, to conduct job analysis, to train the assessors, and to periodically evaluate and revise the assessment program. So initially only they have to tell them that these are the goals that we are expecting. So nothing to worry, even if you have not promoted, so just assessing. So next time again you will be given an opportunity. The senior managers who are evaluating, they should do it well. So they should also be trained properly how to do this, the test has to be conducted or evaluation. Okay, so this is about assessment center method, where group of employees will be taken from different employees and they will be assessed. Second, human resource accounting method. So human resources are valuable asset of any organization, because we know that to work anywhere you need employees, you need human resource to work, and they play an important asset in any kind of organization. And then this asset can be valued in terms of money. When competent and well-trained employees leave an organization, the human asset is decreased and vice versa. So what happens when a very competent person leaves the organization like that and it is actually lost to the company. Under this method, performance is judged in terms of cost and contribution of employees. So they will see how much each employee is contributed, okay, how much they have worked, and that is going to be a beneficiary to the organization. Cost of human resource consists of expenditure on human resource, planning, recruitment, selection, induction, training, compensation. So they will see how much of money from the company they have spent on all these process to recruit a person, and after recruiting that particular person, how much beneficial he has been to the organization. So that will be assessed. Example, contribution of human resource is the money value of labor, productivity of value added by human resource. So when we say human resource, mainly we are assessing them with the money value that they own. Difference between cost and contribution will reflect the performance of employee. This method is still in the transitionary stage and is therefore not popular at present. So it is not that popular. So usually they will not assess in detail, but it is expected to do that. How much money we have spent to recruit this person, and after taking how much he has contributed to the money value. Okay, so that is human resource accounting method. This is not much popular. It is just a transitionary. It is not being used much. Third, behaviorally anchored rating scales, which is also called as BARS, BARS. This method combines graphic rating scale with critical incidence method. BARS are descriptions of various degrees of behavior relating to specific performance dimension. So a bar will be given as a rating scale according to the performance behavior of an individual. Critical areas of job performance and the most effective behavior for getting results are determined in advance. The rater records the observable job behavior of an employee and compares these observations with bars. In this way, an employee's actual behavior is judged against the desired behavior. The steps involved in constructing bars are as follows. So they construct bars, and accordingly they will assess how much a person has been performing based upon their behavior. They will refer with the expected behavior. So they use these bars. Okay, so how do we construct that? So there are steps that is used to construct. There are 5 methods. We will see what are those. Identify critical incident. Person with knowledge of the job to be appraised. Describe specific example of both effective and ineffective job behavior. So find out a such incident where the person has actually worked critically. Okay, so that has to be identified to assess their knowledge and the skills that the person used during this incident, critical incident. Okay, that is first. Second, select performance dimension. The person cluster the behavior incidents to a smaller set, usually 5 to 10 of performance dimension. So here you just put into order. So what are the expected behavior of a person during this kind of incident? So put it into 5 to 10 points. So see if those are present in the person in the particular behavior. Okay, in a particular incident that happens, so these are the expected performance by the person. It can have 5 to 10. Okay, so retranslate the incident. Another group of knowledgeable person assign each incident to dimension that it best describes. Incidents for which there is less than 75% agreement with the first group are not retranslated. So they'll make sure that these performance will be translated. Okay, so that will show the knowledge, the skill that the person has pursued, okay, during the course of the time that he has been working. So incidents for which if there is less than 75% agreement with the first group. So if it is less than 75, then they need not retranslate itself. It says that they are ineffective. Fourth, assign scales to incidents. So the second group rates each incident on a 7 or 9 point scale. So they give a scale. Okay, so effectiveness can be seen from 7 to 9 point scale. Rating is done on the basis of how well the behavior was exhibited in the incident represents performance on the appropriate dimensions. Means and standard deviations are then calculated for the scale values assigned to each incident. Incidents that have standard deviation of 1.5 or less on a 7-point scale are included in the final anchored scales. So they do this assess, okay, and then they use a statistical evaluation of mean, standard deviation, median. If standard deviation is less than 1.5, that will be taken into account. Okay, so bar, so they will be using it to compare with what is expected and what is being performed by the performer, by the employee. Then you have develop final instrument, a subset of the incidents that meets both the retranslation and standard deviation criteria is used as a behavioral anchor for the final performance dimension. So whatever after the retranslation, after the statistical analysis that has been done, so the final performance dimensions will be calculated. A final bars instrument typically comprises a series of vertical scales, 1 scale per dimension, that are engrossed by the included incidents. Each incident is positioned on the scale according to its mean value. So totally they will calculate, and according to the mean value they will be giving the rank, or they will be assigning the positions. Okay, next you have what are the advantages of bar method, and then we will see what are the disadvantages. So when we say advantages, the ratings are likely to be accurate because they are done by experts. So usually experts do this. Method is more reliable and valid. It is job specific and identifies observable. Now here they know what to observe, what is expected. So with the expected, they will observe and they will make a record. So systemic clustering of critical incidents helps in making the dimensions independent of one another. Ratings are likely to be more accepted due to employee participation. Here even the employee is participated, so it is more acceptable by them. And then the method provides a basis for staffing developmental goals for employees as it differentiates between behavior, performance and result. So when we assess a person, we can assess them in terms of their behavior, in terms of their performance, in terms of the result. So this helps in setting up developmental goals for the employee. Then the fifth one, the use of critical incidents is useful in providing feedback to the employee being rated. So the final feedback will be given to them. So these are all the various advantages of BARS method. Next we will see what are the drawbacks. So talking about the drawbacks, it is very time consuming and expensive to develop BARS for every job. Okay, so for every job, it becomes time consuming and expensive to construct this BARS for every individual in a company or in an organization, institution or in a hospital. Okay, so behaviors used are more actively or activity oriented than result oriented. So here it is mainly given importance for the behavior and the performance. So it is more of activity oriented than result oriented. Several appraisal forms are required to accommodate different types of jobs in an organization. So if we have to do in different job holders in different organizations, so several appraisal forms should be used. Despite its intuitive appeal, this method is not necessarily superior of the traditional method of appraisal. So they say that in spite of having their own advantages, however, but still we cannot say that it is good than the traditional method. Okay, next we will go to appraisal by result or MBO. What is MBO? That is the concept of management by objectives. Was developed by Peter Drucker in 1954. He called it management by objectives. That's why it is called as MBO. And self-control. Since the MBO has become an effective and operational technique of performance appraisal and a powerful philosophy of managing, it is also known as work planning and review or goal setting approach to appraisal. So MBO is considered to be very effective. So they have also named it as work planning and review or goal setting approach to appraisal. So management by objectives, that is MBO, has been defined as a process whereby the superior and subordinate managers of an organization jointly identify its common goal. So both higher and lower authority, they work together, they identify common goals for the institution or the organization. They define each individual's major area of responsibility. So they say who belongs where, okay, their position, their job description, what they have to do, their responsibilities in terms of result expected of him, and use these measures as guides for operating the unit and assessing the contribution of each of its members. So how they would be able to become a successful employee by following what? Okay, so everything is put together in a nutshell, which is called as management by objectives. So they formulate the objectives, the goals, and they work towards the goals in order to make it successful. So the main step that is involved in MBO are: first one, setting organization goals. Okay, so they should have organization goals. Secondly, they should define performance target. So they should know the target. Third, performance review. Again, you review how well they have performed. Then fourth, take the feedback. Okay, and you have to take the feedback. So these are the 4 things that is required for the steps of MBO. Okay, so as I told you, first of all, set organization goals. So because goals are very important, it is a key role of performance which has to be laid down. So these goals should be very clear, precise, measurable terms. They should be challengeable yet attainable. Okay, it can be challenging difficulty, but they should be able to attain it for the welfare of the organization. A thorough analysis of internal environment, strength and weakness, external environment, opportunities and threats of the organization is made to set these goals. So they should keep all these in mind when they are setting the goals, as we have already seen that the employee, the higher authority as well as the lower authority, the subordinates, okay, get involved in the organization objectives in doing these goals or setting up the goals. Second, defining performance target. So here they should have a clear target. So on the basis of organization goals, performance standards for each employee are identified. The responsibilities of an employee may be decided. Okay, so they will identify what kind of performance standard is required, and then responsibility will be decided based upon the organization chart and description according to their level, according to their caliber, according to their category. Okay, then every subordinate writes down his own performance goals, which are work related and career oriented. So each individual will be given an opportunity. Okay, so even the subordinates will be writing what are their goals, how they want to achieve. So through these goals, what would be the target, that they will be, attaining. So his manager also writes down the goals he thinks the subordinate should strive for. So he will write for himself, subordinate, what I should do, and manager also will write what the subordinate should do. Then two will discuss, reach an agreement. So they will reach an agreement, put in agreed goals. So they will discuss and see whichever has to be included will be included, the things which has to be excluded will be excluded. Thus, employees at all levels are actively involved in goal setting. So clear attainable goals help channel energies in the right direction and let the employee know the basis on which he will be judged. The goals are periodically reviewed and revised to keep them flexible and updated. Okay, so much is enough. So they both discuss, they set up the goals, they'll make sure that the subordinates is able to reach the goal. So that is defining performance target. Third, performance review. So again, review meetings between the manager and the subordinate will be held, and it is important that they are held. Initially, monthly review may be used and then extended to quarterly. So 3 months once also they can have review. So first it will be like every month, then quarterly they can have. So in this review meetings, progress is assessed. So what do? They assess the progress, they see the weakness, the strength, the constraints, okay, where they can improve. Okay, steps to improve performance will be decided. Subordinates actively participate in this process. So mainly in MBO you see that you also have the subordinates participating in setting of the goals and setting up the target, and then in the performance review, how much they were able to achieve, what were the weakness, strength, where they lack, where they have to improve. All this will be decided along with the manager. Fourth one, feedback. So after every performance review, feedback of the performance will be communicated to the subordinate by the manager so that they will improve upon their own performance. On the basis of performance review, rewards are also decided. So how will they perform? Rewards will be given as incentives or promotion. New goals and performance targets also will be determined for the next period. So after this new project, if they're starting, they will start up with new goals, again sitting together and working out. So we will see what are the unique features of appraisal through MBO. So nature of goals, when you see, it should be clear, measurable, clear linkage between organization goal and what is the target that is expected. Goals and targets determined before the appraisal period begins. So they have to check with these, and then checkpoints set up to measure progress, see how much they have progressed. Focus on result to be achieved rather than on activities. So they have to check out with the performance how much goal they have achieved. That is very important. So these are all the nature of goals. Next, talking about evaluation process. So in this, periodic review of performance rather than only yearly review has to be done. Focus of review on performance or results achieved rather than personal traits. An employee, okay, so here they will again, what they will do is they will try to see how much they have achieved. Okay, role of an employee, they have to participate in goal setting here in MBO. Then they will also be there, to list out the target, and then performance appraisal, how well they have done, okay, than being a passive observer. So they are more active here. The nature of control plays a key role in job related decisions. Then focuses on future rather than past or present. Okay, so that will be done. So role of an evaluator. So he should be a coach, he should be a counselor, he should be supportive, he should help them to find their own faults and work on it. Okay, so these are all the various features of appraisal through MBO. Next we will go to advantages. So when we say advantages, you have you have end means chain. Okay, so MBO makes goals more explicit. Focus attention on key result area. Targets set at every level are integrated with those of next higher level. This ensure The activity of every person is ultimately contributing towards organization goal. End means chain. Okay, so they're starting a project, it is like a chain. Okay, so what happens when they start with new set of goals, target, achievement, feedback. Again, they should have goals, target, feedback. So like a chain, it should be carrying out. Okay, and then role clarity. So here, while providing clear targets of performance, each one will know their role, their job description, so there will be no role conflict, fight between two roles. Okay, so job description should be there, their responsibility has to be told to them, and what are their performance goals. So there is no conflict between the role, and they will know what they are expected to do. Okay, so next you have objective appraisal. So here the target developed in MBO provide an objective criteria for evaluating performance. An employee knows in advance the result expected of him and the basis on which his performance will be judged. Frequent performance review sessions help to identify problems early and more clearly. After identifying deficiency in performance, individual, so they will see objective, how much they have achieved, where they are lacking, how they can improve it. Then motivation and commitment. Okay, so motivation also is required. Okay, so active participation of subordinates in goal setting and performance. Reviews helps to satisfy ego, self-actualization needs. Close linkage. So whenever required, they have to actually be motivated, and they should also be committed. Okay, so job satisfaction and morale of employees tend to be higher in MBO. Okay, management development. So here we see continuous feedback will be given, opportunities for self-control help to develop the leadership potential of lower level executives. Support and counsel of the superiors also foster career development. MBO is a problem solving rather than a tell and sell approach. So here what they try to do is, mainly they will try to help them the areas where they are lacking. They will not leave them, okay, you have to do by yourself. No, they will be with them. The managers will make sure that they motivate, they coordinate, they tell them about the importance of the commitment, clarify doubts, and help them to gain, confidence in what they are doing, so that, they also give them problem solving approach. Okay, so that their problems will be sorted out and they would be able to give their best. Coordination. So there is coordination. So sense of direction also is given by them. With superiors, they develop good coordination, so that reduces internal conflict which arise when managers competence for scarce resources. It becomes easier. So once when they have good understanding, when they are able to gel with each other good, then automatically it leads to good coordination of work. So these are the various advantages, like end means chain, role clarity, objective appraisal, motivation and commitment, management development, coordination. So remember the points, and you should be explained by, with your own words. And then what are the limitations or disadvantages? So drawbacks. So difficulty in goal setting. Sometimes it becomes, managers cannot accept subordinates' goals. So in that case, it can become difficult in goal setting. Problem of participation. Because sometimes if manager is too authoritative, what happens? Subordinate will not be happy to participate, and that can keep them away, or they can be a kind of tug of war, war between the two people. Then the target will not be achieved properly. So sometimes the subordinate tries to set lower targets, but the manager always has, superior target. So this does not cope up with each other. Okay, so that is about problem of participation, lack of understanding. So unknowledgeable person, if they are involved, then what happens? It adds to the stress if they are not able to understand the philosophy or the structure. Okay, lack of top management support and hasty implementation can also cause failure. Okay, then it is time consuming and expensive. Inflexibility, because MBO can be self-defeating. Okay, so top manager starts suppressing emotions of the people if he is not mingling with them properly, and he's very strict, is not maintaining good IPR or training. Actually, okay, rating of every individual on the basis of specific targets may make it difficult to compare the ratings. So first, support and commitment should be there from the top management, okay, to the subordinate. Secondly, training is required in interpersonal relationship, how to maintain, how to participate in decision making, that has to be given training. Okay, and then thirdly, good job description must be prepared for different job. So they should make sure that each person has got his own responsibility in performing. So based on that, it should be calculated. Then fourthly, superior must be on solving problem rather on criticizing performance. So they should be able to solve the problem than criticize a person. Sixthly, the organization structure and leadership must be compatible with participative management. Seventhly, regular feedback must be provided to permit self improvement. Okay, so make sure, okay, so these are the 7 points which we have to keep in mind, or the superior as well as subordinates should ensure that they are following this in order to make it effective. Otherwise, this will lead to drawback. Okay, so these are the limitations. So we see difficulty in goal setting, problem of participation, lack of understanding, time consuming and expensive, inflexibility. Okay, next you have appraisal of managers. So when we say about appraisal of managers, okay, so how, what are the ways like managers will be appraised. So far we have been seeing subordinates appraisal. So now we will see how the managers are appraised in the next video.